Outside in my front yard, I got a plastic rooster and a Noah's Ark. Camel bells from a foreign land, crystal ball on a terracotta stand. Jesus crosses hanging in the trees, Tibetan fair flags blowing in the breeze. Rub my lucky yard gnome as you walk past, my concrete Buddha laughing in the grass. Wipe your feet before you step off your car, you got hollowed ground, you're in my sacred yard. Holy water in the bird bath to wash your sins, now you're forgiven. Come on in. I got a silver star of David, a stained glass moon, sentimental objects hanging in my room. Everything is sacred, every breath of air. Be careful what you're thinking, every thought's a prayer. It's the ordinary people you talk to every day, incantations and prophecies from the mouths of babes. You can talk about the weather or the food you crave. It's the feelings you project, not the words you say. Why before you get out your car, you're on hallowed ground, you're in my sacred yard. Holy water in the birth bath to wash your sins, now you're forgiven. Come on in. If you're searching for happiness, try not to look so hard. Take a lawn chair and go out in the yard. Stare straight up at the sky so blue. Yeah, God's in heaven, but heaven's in you. Wipe your feet before you step out your car. You're on hallowed ground, you're in my sacred yard. Holy water in the bird bath to wash your sins, now you're forgiven. And I'm forgiven. We're all forgiven. Come on in. Come on in. Yeah. Howdy, St. Pete. Wipe your feet, please.
Please pray with me. As we come together in community, we are blessed. We are blessed to be in these United States, to be in this state of Colorado. And knowing how grateful we are for all that we have. And knowing too that there are so many people in this earth who do not have anywhere near what we have, makes us even more and more grateful. We send our love out to so many who are suffering right now. And that's the best thing we can do, is to send out our love, to keep that positive energy flowing out into the universe. And that's what we can do for sure. So we know today is a blessed day as we come together. We come together in joy, with happiness in our hearts, knowing that we are here to celebrate one another and to celebrate the Great Spirit who's always with us, always, always, within us and around us. So in that knowing, we know too that today is a blessed day, and that each and every person who has helped put this Sunday together, our ushers, our music, our team who is doing all the sound, and our practitioners, and then also, of course, Reverend Jen and her message to us, inspired by the Great One we know as always. So for all these things, we bless everyone in this whole world. However they choose to worship, we are all worshiping that same oneness, that same Great Spirit, no matter what we call it. So we know that We are all one together on this earth. And what one suffers, we all suffer. So we keep that love flowing. Keep that love flowing. Send that joy and love out into the world as much as you can. And we know we are here to do that. We are the warriors of spirit. So as we know this, we take this in, we use this during our week, we are grateful and thankful for this time. As we say together, and so it is. Good morning. Or good afternoon. I do that every time. Anyway, our words of inspiration today for a spoonful of humor is the medicine from Pope Francis. A sense of humor is a gift I ask for every day. It's a human attribute, but it's the closest to God's grace. And from Plato, life must be lived as play, playing games, singing, dancing, laughing, and then one will soothe the gods. And from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, what great joy should accompany everything we do, and expectancy, love. Love everything, praise everything, recognize all things, believe all things, accept all things. There is a laughter of God. Let's laugh it. There is a song of the universe. Let's sing it. There is a hymn of praise. Let's praise it. There is a joy, a beauty. There is a deep, abiding peace. Let's experience it.
Last week, I talked to you about being playful, playing games, bringing more joy into your lives. And I took some time this week to really sit in that space, that energy of what's going on in the world. And I know for many of us, there's a lot of sorrow. There's heartbreak. For many of us, there is homelessness. There is prejudice, criticism, ridicule. There's that feeling of isolation, and for many, these are occurrences that are happening in our everyday lives. And so when we look at that and when we think about that and we hold that in that sacred container as well, we get to look at the fact that what would it take? What can we do? How can we support others in bringing humor into their lives when they're feeling so downtrodden and challenged and possibly even feeling broken? So for anyone who can relate to the things that I'm talking about, whether you're in this room or you're tuning in online, this message is for you. Right before her 100th birthday, Betty White danced her way right off of planet Earth, knowing that her work here was done. This quote says, "I just make it my business to get along with people so I can have fun. It's that simple." It's that simple. In her book, she talks about being a child, being a little girl, and sitting at the dinner table with her parents, and her parents were the funniest people on the planet. The dinner table was like, someone referred to it as a dog and pony show, but there was this constant laughter and constant stories and all of these wonderful things, and what she learned very early on was that she wanted to participate, but if her timing was off, and she didn't step in at the right moment, instead of participating, she interrupted the process and derailed the entire story. Now, when I read about that, I couldn't help but think how wonderful and incredible it had to be this woman as a child and to live in that kind of joy at every meal, where there was just laughter, and humor and joy and jokes and stories. Then I also started to look at the idea that she talks about timing. She learned very early on, if you want to be funny, you have to be timing what you say and say it in exactly the right way. And we can take that idea of timing into everything that we do. Because if you show up in the wrong way at the wrong time, the results are never going to be what you had planned them to be when you started out. It's pretty simple to see how that works. And humor is that thing that's going to give us the balance we need. Because without it, we're over here in the humdrum and the drudgery and the woe is me and the depression and the challenges, and it's hard to lift our heads up without having some level of balance. There are millions of videos online that are funny. TikTok videos, I don't know how, I can't tell you how to do those, but they're out there. I see one every now and then, but I'm not sure how it shows up for me. But I went on YouTube and I just typed in humor and started watching. Betty White has numerous videos of her in interviews where 3 minutes long. You need a little humor this week? Tune into one of those, 3 minutes, and it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. So I also know that with everything that's going on right now, people are, what do we want to call us? What are we doing? We're pointing a finger at each other. We're either pointing a finger at each other because you're not doing enough, or we're pointing a finger at you because you think what you're doing is right, or pointing a finger because you think that what you're saying is okay, and we become very opinionated. Now, I was opinionated as a kid, so I really didn't need any more of this to show up in my life. But what happens when we look at this from the world of opinion, we look at the situation in Ukraine, we look at the situation with what is going on with the homeless in Aurora, Colorado, and all over the United States. And we look at all of these things that are transpiring and we think, there's nothing we can do. And then when someone takes a stand or makes a statement, all of these comments show up if you're on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, or Insta, and all these comments show up that are kind of shutting that person down. And it's like, but they're doing something, right? So I want to tell you about a group of grade school kids in Westside Elementary School in Healdsburg, California. On February, it's right here somewhere, February 26th, the students launched a program called Pep Talk, P-E-P-T-O-C. It's a hotline. They recorded messages. Some of the messages are just children giggling and laughing. Which, let me tell you, when you're hearing a child giggle, it's hard not to tune in and to chum right in along with them and laugh along with them. They wanted to help the planet. So they have posted their phone number, and they are giving advice, and they are giving insight to how you can be more upbeat, how you can be happier, how you can tune into humor. I'm in awe of this. And you know, I see this every day. Kids in school. Children, small children, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds are speaking out with a wisdom and the insight of how to fix what's broken on our planet and in our hearts. They decided that this idea of a social practice would be really, really great for the kids to tune into and to see exactly what they could do. So they have received thousands of calls daily, and I'm sure that number has increased by now. They even have an option that if you call in and you're feeling mad, frustrated, or nervous, press 1. And 2, if you need encouragement or life advice. And if you want to hear kids that are laughing with delight, just press 3. And hit 4 if you need encouragement in Spanish. That's priceless. A group of kids put this together, and it's priceless. And if you look up Pep Talk, P-E-P-T-O-C, you'll see the number. I encourage you to call the number. It's great. It's a really great little process. So let's talk a little bit more about what we can do regarding humor in our lives. Every time you're able to find some humor in a difficult situation, you win. I've talked before about how my mom is the person who taught me all about humor. We would laugh at anything and everything. Sometimes we were the only ones laughing, and we didn't care. So keep that in mind, because you might say something that you think is really funny, and other people might not necessarily agree. That's okay. So according to the Mayo Clinic, stress has a serious impact, and I think we all know this, on our mood and our state of mind. Stress. How often have we gone to a doctor or a medical professional, and they've asked us about the level of stress in our lives? This contributes to anxiety, irritability, depression, lack of motivation, feelings of being overwhelmed. The body can only handle so much, and we are in overload. So instead of seeking out a prescription, the prescription I'm going to write for you today is humor. Take some time every day this week and find something to laugh about. Norman Cousins in 1964 was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. It is a progressive degenerative arthritis of the spine and all of the connective tissue, which it eventually cripples and then takes one's life. There was not much that the medical community could do back in 1964. He was really struggling. So much so that he could not sleep at night. The pain was so excruciating. So he decided to experiment with what he knew about the power of the mind to see if laughter could help him heal. And he developed his own therapy program. He included humor and daily laughter into his life. Every single day, he found something to laugh about. Every day. Take a moment and just reflect over the last week of your life. Did you laugh every day? Are we finding humor every minute of every day, especially in those times when we're feeling like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that the price of gas went up. Excuse me, I drive a car, I put gas in it, I don't look at the price on whatever. Someone said something the other day and said, well, how difficult is that with all the gas prices? And I said, what? Excuse me, I don't pay attention to that. I go put gas in the car, I fill it up, I drive away. I'm content. I may be not paying attention to the things I need to pay attention to, but you know what? It's not bringing me down. It's not bringing me down. So take the time, pay attention to things that are important to you, find the humor, find something to chuckle at, to laugh about. I have been practicing this past week because I can't stand up here and tell you to play every day and then not go home and play. So I've been playing a lot. And then this week, coming up with humor, I thought, okay, well, I can't stand up here and tell you to find humor and not be finding humor. And what I discovered is sometimes I kind of feel like I'm going to chuckle, and then I hold it back. And so I've been practicing laughing out loud. And it's amazing, because the most mundane things will cause me to just burst into laughter. And most of these incidences have happened in my home with something that's going on between my dog and myself and whatever's going on in the environment. but some of them have happened outside. And people turn and look at you. They want to know what you're laughing at. And they don't want to know what you're laughing at because they want to judge you. They want to know what you're laughing at because they want to laugh too. It is a practice we all want to tune into. I'm going to share a story with you. In 1887, on January 21st, the temperature was 0 degrees. William and Anna had just brought a new baby into the family. Anna, the mom, was holding the child. The 5 older brothers were kind of checking him out. And they were curious to a degree. They kind of wanted to know where in the heck he came from, but not enough to really ask any questions, because then they might get a long answer. And they just kind of took a look at him, and they went on, and they kind of went on to play. Everyone in the family knew that this baby boy would fit in just like the 5 brothers had fit in. There would be nothing unique, nothing interesting, or out of the ordinary. The baby was named Ernest Shirtliff Holmes. For those of you who do not know, Ernest Shirtliff Holmes is the founder of this philosophy that we teach, religious science. And at a very, very early age, his mother, Anna, began to notice that he wasn't like his brothers. He was much more inquisitive than any of them had been, and he was the one who was going to ask the questions that nobody even thought of. And as a young mother, she was very, very good at encouraging this little boy to do what he needed to do. When his older brothers went to school, at the age of 5, there was no class for Ernest. But he was sent to school because he wanted to go along with his brothers. Anna was the kind of woman that when the kids would go to church and the minister would say something derogatory. Now, let me say this differently. There is a belief that maybe we're bad, or we're sinners, or we've harmed things, or we have things wrong with us. And in some philosophies and in some faiths, at least way back in the early 1900s, it was taught a lot that people weren't really worthy necessarily of salvation. And Anna wouldn't stand for that. When the kids came home, she would rewrite everything the minister had said. And so did her husband, William, to teach the boys that they were valued, they were beautiful, and that they were loved. Somewhere in all of that, Ernest developed a sense of humor. So much so that he would be speaking in this amazing cadence that he spoke from this New England kind of tone in his voice. And he would just say something and it would just kind of halt the audience for a second, and then everyone would laugh because it was just something so beautiful and so humorous that he shared. He was able to write and read at the age of 6. And he found his calling, oh, if we could all be so blessed, at the age of 6 years old. When they got together for a church social, Ernest stood up in front of everyone to recite a poem he had written. And here it is. You'd scarce expect one of my age to speak in public on the stage. And if I chance to fall below Demosthenes and Cicero, don't view me with a critic's eye, but pass my imperfections by. How beautiful, how amazing to know. And that was at the age of 6. No wonder we have so many writings of his and so many teachings of his that give us so much insight to how we can live our lives. Viktor Frankl said this: "I would never have made it if I could not have laughed. It lifted me momentarily out of this horrible situation, just enough to make it livable." Viktor Frankl survived the Holocaust. In 1942, just months after his first marriage, he and his family were sent to one of the concentration camps. His father died there, and in 1944, Frankl and surviving members of his family were transported to Auschwitz. Many of us have heard that name. His mother and brother were taken from him, and their lives were taken. His wife died later. Viktor Frankl survived. You can tell me there's nothing to be joyful about in the world today. You can tell me that there's too much going on. There's too much hardship. There's too much anger. There's too much hatred. And yet this man found a way to find humor during his time in a concentration camp. So I look at that and I go, so how does that happen? How does someone who is in that place find the ability to laugh and endure and survive, and how individuals possibly where we are today not have that ability? What's the difference? And the difference is that wonderful thing I'm always telling you about: choice. Yes, we have losses. Yes, we get to grieve. Yes, we get to express our emotions. Yes, we get to express our sorrow. Yes, we get to express sometimes our outrage and our concern about what's going on and our surprise. And yes, absolutely yes, we get to choose in to humor, to laughter, to play, and to fun. Charles Dickens said, "There is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor." Nothing so contagious. When we look at the idea of spiritual healing, it consists of changing our thoughts. Holmes told us over and over again, change your thinking, change your life. It's important to look at the cause of our stress. It's important to look at how we handle it or mishandle it. It is important for us to look at the way we see things and change and shift our perspective. It's almost silly for us as religious scientists to affirm wholeness and continue to overwork ourselves, to worry ourselves, to be frantic, to be upset, to be in reaction mode about everything that happens. You may need to change your practices. You may be required to reach out to someone for prayer support. You may need to look at some other way of looking at it. It's as simple as sitting in the space and looking at the challenge and getting up and walking around and turning and looking at it from another perspective. It's as simple as that. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort and energy for us to shift past the pain. You were not created to hurt. No one of us was. You were not created to hurt. You were not created to feel sorrow and unworthiness and less than And to have that, I talked about this last week, that line, that furrowed brow that shows up. My father had that all the time. I always looked like he was frowning. Now, he did it because if he scowled at you, especially if you were one of my boyfriends, he believed you would behave and not do anything stupid with his daughter. I told everybody that that was just how his face looked and it didn't mean anything, which was so helpful. But we don't have to take the world with that kind of energy. We were created to laugh and enjoy and be in that place of peacefulness. So my thinking is always, when something is coming up in my body, there's some kind of pain, something is going on, okay, what was I just thinking about? Where was my mind just now? Was I rehashing something that I haven't been able to resolve? And then what do I need to do to shift? To find something different? I tune into something that gives me an opportunity to laugh for no less than 30 minutes every day of the week. Every day of the week. That's how important I believe it is. I know that sometimes I have a lot of pictures with dogs, so today I thought I would bring in this beautiful, beautiful, incredible laughing horse and the kitten. When you laugh, your energy level changes. The very chemistry of your brain shifts and changes and alters. When we choose to laugh daily, and I mean really laugh out loud, it changes the mind and the body. According to the Neuro Leadership Institute, laughing swaps the cortisol in the bloodstream with highly sought-after chemicals in the brain, such as dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. Dopamine, in particular, enhances learning, motivation, and attention. If the person you live with, that you call your partner, spouse, roommate, whatever, doesn't seem to be listening to you, maybe you need to be funnier. Maybe you need to throw a joke out there or two. Create some laughter. Because once we laugh, we're alive. You know it. You feel it. You can feel it in your body. Brené Brown says, it takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol. If you have been taught that life is a drudgery, that you have to be serious, that you have to overwork yourself, if you believe that whatever level of exhaustion you're experiencing right now doesn't matter because you still have to get something done, you are mistaken. And I really encourage you to reel that in, because the truth is, you are not here to overwork yourself. And you've heard this before, I'm sure you have, is that no one on their dying bed at the last moments of life here on planet Earth says, boy, I wish I'd have worked a little bit harder. Most people wish they would have laughed more, had more time with family, had more time with friends. This week, you get to have fun. You get to have fun. Absolute, actual fun. I had a job in high school. Was it my first job? Yeah, I think it was. I worked at Union Printers Home in Colorado Springs, and I worked in the kitchen. And I worked there for 3 weeks. And then I quit my job. And there was a young boy there whose mother worked there, and he was kind of, I found him attractive, and she didn't like the fact that he found me attractive, and so she was kind of snippy to me, and then couple of other things were happening. And Union Printers Home is a home for the elderly. So there were a lot of elderly people there, but I never got to see them because my job all was contained in this big, giant kitchen. And after a while, I got kind of tired of this lady kind of being snippy at me. And I quit my job. And I remember my dad coming home, and he said, "So what happened?" And I said, "Well, Dad, I just wasn't having any fun." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "I wasn't having any fun." And he goes, "Fun? What makes you think you're supposed to have fun? It's a job." And I said, "Oh, no. If I'm not having fun, I'm not going to be there." And that has been my motto my entire life. Sometimes I stuck it out a little bit longer than I needed to, but for the most part, every job I ever left was because I stopped having fun. So, hey, you guys want me to stick around? You get to start having more fun so I can have fun with you. No, I'm kidding. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, says this: "I am joy, peace, and love. I am the spirit of joy within me. I am the spirit of peace within me, of poise and power. I am the spirit of happiness within me. I radiate life. I am life. There is one life, and that life is my life now." That is a beautiful affirmation to speak to self every day, every single day. What do you want to walk out of here with today? Do you want to walk out that door and immediately grab a hold of all the stuff that you left in the car to come in here and start carrying the burdens and the drudgeries of life again? Or the feelings of isolation, or the wondering of what in the world is going on in the world? Or do you want to walk out of here today and start looking for something to laugh at? Start looking for something to have fun with. Start seeking out some way to be more playful and embrace that. Again, it's your choice. I encourage you to choose the joy, the laughter, and the fun. Because the truth is, humor is the medicine. Please pray with me. Practitioners, would you please stand? So as we breathe into this moment, this space right here and right now, and we turn our attention back to walking out of this sanctuary and interacting with one another and doing the life thing, we do it knowing that Spirit is present, that God is with us right here, right now, in all things. And all we need to do is consider what it would take to be more joyful, to be more filled with laughter, to be happier, to be filled with humor, and Spirit will offer the opportunities for each and every one of us. And so this week, we choose joy. And as we choose joy, we share that joy, we share that elation, we share that sense of laughter with everyone around us. We allow it to bubble up within us and bubble out and come into that musical tone of what laughter sounds like on the planet. Because that laughter, that humor, that expression can heal so much of what is ailing our planet right here and right now. And so today I know all people everywhere are blessed. People of all philosophies, all faiths, all belief systems, whoever they are and wherever they are blessed by God because Spirit lives within them also. And as we walk the walk this week, we see God everywhere we go. We embrace the beauty of the day. We embrace the promise of spring. We embrace the promise of better times. and we allow ourselves to stand strong in who we are, authentically embracing life with love and laughter. And so I just give thanks. I give thanks for the opportunity to speak these words into universal wisdom. I give thanks for the opportunity to be present with these people today and to be able to reach out to the masses online. And I give thanks for Spirit in all things, because it's all good and it's all God. So we just let it go. We let it go and we let it be, as we say together, and so it is.
Here comes the sun, do-do-do. Here comes the sun, I say, it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do. Here comes the sun, I say, it's all right. Little darling, the smiles are turning to the faces. Oh, little darling, it seems like years it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do. Here comes the sun, I say, it's all right. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes, yeah. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes, yeah. Little darling, I feel the ice is slowly melting. A little darling, it seems like yes, it's been clear. Here comes the sun, do-do-do. Here comes the sun, I say, it's all right. Here comes the sun, do-do-do. Here comes the sun, I say, it's all right. It's all right.
Hello. I'm Reverend Jen Wild, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.